Hey guys, what's up? It's Caden from the Code Bros. Today we're going to be going over functions, which are really fun, so let's just jump straight into it. Alrighty, so this will be an intro to functions. Overall, I'll probably spend about 3, maybe 4 lessons on functions altogether, because they are really important, but let's just get started on a quick intro. So today we're just going to be learning about functions, just the basics of them. So let's go over a little bit of terminology here. So there's two types of things you should know, function declarations and function definitions. So declarations are used to let your linker know that a function exists somewhere past main. That way you can put all your functions below main, but you'll have kind of like a header kind of a thing above main just to let the linker know that functions exist. And the way you make these are you include the return type, the identifier, and the parameter list, followed by a semicolon. You'll see more about what that all means later on in the video. And then function definitions, those are actually what are used to define what actions are going to be performed inside of your function. And so, just like the declaration, it's going to include the return type, the identifier, and the parameter list, but you're going to follow it up with some brackets, and inside of those brackets are where you put the actions of what happens in that function. So this is the basic structure. You're going to have a return data type, you're going to have an identifier, and a parameter list. And this is kind of what it looks like once it's put together. So we have int as the return data type, GetSome, so we're doing some addition here, right? We're going to get the sum of the left and right integers here. And then the function actions would be performed inside these brackets. Alrighty, so let's break this down a bit. So the function returns the integer value, as said before. You can actually call this function in a different function. So like let's say you're in main, you can call it inside of main by typing GetSome. And it needs to take two parameters. One is an integer that it's going to define as left, and one is an integer that it's going to define as right. And we're talking about the left and right operands of addition. So this is actually how GetSome would be written. You would have the function with a return type of integer. You'd have its name as GetSome and the integer left and right that it takes in. And then all it would do is add left plus right. So let's say it passed in 10 and 15. You'd add 10 plus 15 here, and it'd return 25. Now how do we use these things? Well, okay, so let's say we were in main, just like we've been doing before. We just have our main function. We make an integer called sum. We assign it 0 to start with because you always want to initialize variables. And then we say sum equals GetSome of 5, 10. So this 5 is going to be passed into the left variable here. The 10 is going to be passed into the right variable here. And what it's going to do is take that 5 and 10, it's going to add them together to get 15, and it's going to return that 15 back to whatever is over here. So sum receives that 15 value. So if we were to see out sum, 15 would be displayed on the screen. Alrighty, let's get into the actual code now. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to just set it up with a constant integer to start off with. We're going to be doing 4 operations today, so I'm going to call this integer operations. We're going to set it equal to 4. Now down here in main, what I'm going to do is make an array of integers, and I'm going to call them results. And we're going to make them operations long. So it's going to be an array of 4 integers there. We're going to set them equal to 0. What this does is it actually just sets the first one equal to 0, but when you do this, it assigns all values that you don't set automatically to 0. So if I was to do something like this, it would assign the first one to 1 and the rest would be 0. But since I just want them all to be 0, this is just a quick, pretty easy way to make all of them equal 0 from the start, no matter what size it is. So now what we're going to do is also make a left operand. So this is going to, hold on 1 second, we'll just set that equal to 20. So in the case of doing addition, say we were adding 20 plus 10, the left operand here is this operand, and the right one is this operand, and then it returns a sum, more or less. So that's the basic setup of an addition problem. So we're going to need a left operand, and we're going to need a right operand. We're going to set that equal to 10. Now we're going to start making some actual functions. This is where it gets kind of interesting. You get to learn some new stuff. So we're going to make 4 functions. We're going to make add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So they're all going to be structured pretty much exactly the same. The only difference is going to be its identifiers. So they're all going to take an integer called left and right. They're all going to return an integer. And I can just copy and paste. One's going to be called add, one will be called subtract, one will be called multiply, one will be called divide. So those are the 4 functions we're going to be writing today. So back in that PowerPoint on the first slide, I went over the difference between a declaration and a definition. This is simply a declaration. It just declares that somewhere this add function exists. Now if I go over this green squiggly line, it says int add function definition for add not found. It's because we haven't written the actual definition yet. So where you want to write the definition is actually down here below main, and it's pretty simple. It's just the same setup as up here. We're going to do int add. We're going to take a left parameter and a right parameter here. Both are integers. And now all we're going to do is take left plus right, and we're going to return that. So you can literally just type return left plus right. What that is going to do is it's going to take the 20 that we pass in as the left operand. It's going to take 10 as the right operand. It's going to add them together to get 30, and it's going to return 30. So we'll do that. We'll do the same thing for subtract, multiply, and divide. And a pretty easy way to do this is just to copy and paste your declarations, and then you can type return left minus right. For multiply, it's going to be return left times right. And then for divide, it's going to be return left divided by right. Return left over right. There you go. Okay, so now how do we actually make use of these functions? So if we come back up to main, when a program runs, it goes to the first line of main, runs through everything in main, and then exits. So what you can do to get into these outside functions is by making calls to them inside of main. Sometimes you'll make a call to a function that'll make a call to a different function, and that's how it's used. But a lot of the times you're just going to call it straight in main. So to start off with, we'll do results. So these are the results we're going to be using, and we're going to say equals add, and we're going to pass it that left operand and right operand. So left operand is going to be 20, right operand is going to be 10, and we can go ahead and just copy and paste this line 4 times, and we're going to go through each spot in the array and fill it in with something different. One's going to be the addition, one will be subtraction, one will be multiplication, one will be division. Alright, so now we have the results set up to where it's going to be receiving each of the results into the different spots in our integer array. So add's going to get 30, subtract is going to get 10, multiply is going to get 200, and divide is going to get 2. So now what's pretty cool is these functions up here are structured with all the same data types. What you can do is make functions with all sorts of different data types. Parameters can be different data types. The return value can be different types. So now we're going to go over a display function. So what we're going to do is be able to display these results. And the results are stored in an array. So when you're doing something like displaying, you don't really need a return type because you're not returning anything. You're just going into the function, displaying some information, and then leaving the function. So you can return a void, which means more or less return nothing. We'll call this display results, and we're going to pass it an integer array. We're going to call it result array because it's this results array we're going to be passing in. You put brackets, but you don't fill in any numbers because this allows it to say, okay, I don't know how many spaces this array has, but just take the array no matter what size it is, kind of a thing. And so we come down here and we'll actually write the definition down here, and it's pretty easy. We'll just see out. We'll do added value. And we'll type result array sub 0, and then put an inline. And now we'll just copy and paste for the next 4. We'll change this to subtracted value. Change this to multiplied value. And we're going to change this to divided value. So now we need to switch these spots in the array to 1, 2, and 3 for those. So now we're just going to get the first spot in the array as the added value since it was up here that we used add with. Spot 1 is subtract, spot 2 is multiply, and spot 3 is divide. And then we don't have to return anything because it's of type void, so it doesn't need a return value. And now, at the end of main, once we've added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided, we'll call display results. And what we're going to pass in is our results array there. So we're going to pass in this identifier that is an integer array. It's going to catch it as an integer array and run through that integer array, displaying each value. So now if we were to save and run this, save, build, run, as you can see, the added value is 30, because 20 plus 10 is 30. Subtracted value is 10, 20 minus 10 is 10. Multiplied value is 200, 20 times 10 is 200, divided value is 2. 20 divided by 10 equals 2. So yeah, that was a pretty basic intro to functions. In the future videos, we're going to be going a bit more in depth on it. We'll be covering things to do with those structs we made before. Pretty much, I'm going to incorporate that old code into functions, and we're going to kind of break it down piece by piece and start making it look a bit cleaner, a bit nicer. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, definitely drop some comments. Thanks. Bye.